संस्थापितं येन भूतले वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साधवैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामिने गौरतुष्ये नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we are continuing Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu discussion from where we left last time. Before we continue, we will do a short revision of what we saw last time so that we can understand where we were and then we'll continue. So last time we discussed very important topic of the practice of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So before we start, I want to just give a caution here because we have understood that this section is for those who have qualification for practice of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So it is not that here when we are discussing, we are recommending devotees to start this. Okay. So I hope everybody is clear with that, that it's not a recommendation to start. Okay. The qualification was mentioned earlier. What is the qualification? Tat tat bhavadi madhurye shrute dhiri yad apekshate na shastram na yuktim cha tatra lobho utpatti lakshanam. Lobho utpatti lakshanam was mentioned earlier, that by hearing such pastimes of Vrindavan, one spontaneously feels attracted to emulate the pastimes and and do a sadhana to attain a body as a follower of one of the Vrajavasis. Okay, so that is in the Siddha Deha, one wants to attain it. Hmm. And that is the qualification. The qualification was mentioned as lobha, that is greed. What kind of greed? The greed is for attaining a bhava similar to a particular Vrajavasi. Okay, that was the qualification. How does one here? One how does one attain? One can attain it by mercy of Krishna or by mercy of devotees. Krishna tad bhakta karunya matra labhaika hetuka, that is there, which is mentioned at the end of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We will see it later. But this qualification was mentioned. This was the primary qualification. And then we also had seen actually a secondary qualification. I will just show the shloka. The secondary qualification was that, okay, that disregard for the scriptures. Okay, but disregard for scriptures itself will not be a primary qualification. That much we have seen. Okay, now after that, just I will just go a little behind in this where it went. Yeah. Okay. So what topics we have seen? I will just show the topic. Okay. Yeah. So the topics we had seen earlier was the definition of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Hmm. That what is the definition of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti? Rupa Goswami defined it as, he defined it as that which follows after the Ragatmika Bhakta. Okay, that we had seen. Then in order to understand what is Raganuga Bhakti, we have to understand what is Raganuga Bhakti. So for that definition was given by Rupa Goswami of Ragatmika Bhakti also. Okay. So what is Ragatmika Bhakti defined as? Ishte Swarasiki Paramavishtata Tad Raga Bhavet. So Raga was defined that a spontaneous deep thirst for the form of Krishna. Which Krishna's form? That form is of Vraj Krishna. Okay, so that was the definition of raga. Ishte swarasiki raga paramavishtata bhavet. Tanmay ya bhavet bhakti satra agatmiko udita. And that bhakti which is solely made up of this kind of thirst is called ragatmika. And in that Rupa Goswami told that we have two types. One is Kamarupa and other one is Sambandharupa. Okay, what is Kamruka? Kamrupa is that external form is of conjugal activities. And Sambandharupa is what? That which has external form of a relationship like friend or a father or a mother or husband or like that. That is sambandh rupa. But both of them, what is the inside material of that? The inside material of both of them was told as raga atmika, that is a deep spontaneous thirst for serving Lord Shri Krishna. Okay. So Kamrupa, why is it separately mentioned? Because it's a special relationship. Example was given as the king is coming, he is to be mentioned separately. And then we saw some proofs from the scripture. So Rupa Goswami quoted the Samvad of Yudhishthira Maharaj and Narada Muni and showed that Gopyaha Kamad and Vrishnaya Sambandha, these two references were given. And then next part we had seen the Kamrupa Ragatmika Bhakti that was defined. And who are the topmost example for that is the gopis of Vrindavan. Okay, that we have seen. Yeah. And another example of Kubja was given, which is Kama Praya, means it is having a personal interest also. Okay, it's not only for the pleasure of Krishna. Then then the next definition of Sambandharupa Ragatmika Bhakti was given. And next was the important part where we discussed qualification for Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So qualification, what did he mention? Ragatmika ek nishthaye vrajvasi janadaya tesham bhavat bhavapatye lubdho bhaved adhikarvan. That person who is greedy for attaining a bhava similar to that of the inhabitants of Vraja. Okay, that is the primary qualification. Okay, that one wants to attain a bhava similar to a particular Vrajavasi. Yeah. And what are the symptoms of that greed? So Rupa Goswami mentioned तत्तद् भावादि माधुर्ये श्रुते धीर यदपेक्षते नात्र शास्त्रम न युक्तिम च लोभो तत्र लोभोत्पत्ति लक्षणम. That appearance of the greed is indicated when the intelligence does not depend on rules of scripture and logic. After realizing some degree, the sweetness of their inhabitants means inhabitants of Raja, their love through the process of hearing from scriptures. So we have studied that it's very important that Raganuga sadhana is developed based on scriptures. Otherwise, Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatrikim, Vidim Vina, Utpat eva kalpate. Okay, Ekantika Harir Bhakti Utpat eva kalpate. It will also create Utpat and Sahajiya and other things will come up. So it is very much based on scripture. So again, going back to the same example of two people wanting to enter into international cricket. So both are learning authoritatively. One is learning from the book and other one is learning authoritatively from the guidance of the video. It's not that he is going to play the shot whatever comes to his mind. No, he is learning from the video only. But he has a particular attraction towards learning of the video. Another one is learning from the book. No problem. Both are authorized. It's only a thing of inclination. Which way the one learning the person likes. Learning both have to do. Both are practicing. And then we saw qualification for Raganuga Bhakti. Next part, the discussion was how does this greed develop? And here Shivram Swami Maharaj mentioned that genuine greed, it will not come easily. And then he quoted the shloka from Padyavali, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamriti Kritam Kutopi Labhyate Na Janma Koti Bhi Sukrita hai. Correct. It will not come by koti, means millions of lives of uh, piety. It will not come by that. Okay. So by two things he mentioned, that one is by genuinely trying to follow the Vedi sadhana bhakti and then attracting the mercy of Krishna and the devotees. And this was very important discussion that we had, that at what stage will the greed develop. Srila Prabhupada has very much emphasized that it will not come up in the stages before Nishtha. Okay, Anartha Nivritti has to happen. Okay, at least 75% as Srila Prabhupada mentions, Prayaki. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. So if the anarthas have not vanished from our heart, we can be very assured that we need not start it now. We have to just continue with our Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, and the day will come when Krishna and devotees will mercifully award us the qualification to get attracted towards a particular Vrajavasi. And it also happens gradually, as we have discussed in this series. Shira Maharaj also mentions that first one gets attracted to the in general pastimes of Vrindavan. Then he gets attracted to a particular rasa, maybe Madhuri ras or Sakhya ras or Vatsal ras or anything. And in that, when it gradually develops more, then in that particular rasa also he gets attracted to one particular devotee whom he wants to emulate. And then gradually he progresses in that way. Okay, this we have discussed. So again, I'm just giving this clause here that it is not that we are discussing as a recommendation that you start doing it, because this has to be done by under the guidance and permission of Guru. Okay, and another thing is that it cannot be done before one has attained the stage of Nishtha. Okay. But then the question may come, why are we discussing it? So it is mentioned, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself has told that Raganuga Bhakti is worshipable for us. Okay. Just like we worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we worship Radharani, we worship Krishna. Raganuga Bhakti is also worshipable for us. So before we worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is our duty to know what is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is his tattva, who is Krishna, who is Radharani, so that we can properly worship them. Similarly, if we want to worship Raganuga Bhakti also, we may not be qualified, but to worship it properly, whatever is given in the very much the syllabus of Bhakti Shastri itself, first 19 chapters, from there we can study what it is so that we can properly worship it. Okay. And then we discussed that how there are five ways which the anarthas manifest, and which are the indications that we have still anarthas in our heart, that is sleepiness during spiritual activity like japa, kirtan, or uh, s- hearing lecture. Okay, shravan. And then second was vikshepa, that is distraction. Okay, while doing some spiritual activity. Apratipati, indifference, when there is no distraction and no sleep, still the person doesn't want to do. That means indifference is there, he wants to do something else. Okay, fourth was kashaya. Okay, that is tendency toward having bad habits. And rasaswad, taste for mental enjoyment. So if these things are there in heart, we can be sure that we are not yet to start raganuga sadhana bhakti. Okay. Yeah, and this we discussed the gradual transition, how it happens. So he has mentioned, Maharaj has mentioned that steady devotee diligently study Shrimad Bhagavatam and respectfully hear of the Lord's many incarnations. But when they read of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, they are especially intrigued. They think Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, but in Vrindavan his behavior is charmingly human-like. Simply to hear Srila Prabhupada's discourse on this phenomena, these devotees eagerly read his Krishna book. When they become struck by Krishna's sweetness and charm, and by the innocent love of the Vrajvasis, they repeatedly hear Srila Prabhupada extol the unparalleled loving service of the Vrajvasis. Okay, so in that way, gradually when they read Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrit, then they can understand that okay, these are very special, and then gradually they get attracted to such pastimes and particular rasa and a particular devotee in that rasa. Okay, and then another discussion we also did was the history. Why so much is the criticism in Gaudiya Vaishnavism about the Raganuga sadhana? So we saw how historically it was being misused so much during the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So they vehemently were against the one path which was called as the external path, which was given as a, so this slide we had discussed that Vahi Panta externals means of attainment was there, where one was given Siddha Pranali Mantra and Siddha Deha even before his anarthas were vanquished. So that would create lot of problem in the society. That's why that method of externally giving a Siddha Deha was so much vehemently dealt with by Srila Prabhupada also and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Okay, this we have discussed. And what was accepted was internal path, which requires genuine qualification of the person. Okay. Yeah, and then practice of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. We have discussed here few topics, essential topics. I'll just tell the title. First was four essential elements of Raganuga practice. What are the four essential elements we saw? Krishnam Smaran Janam Chasya, Preshtam Nij Samhitam, Tat Tat Katha Rataschaso, Kuryad Vasam Vraje Sada. So first is remembering Krishna. Second is those associates of Krishna to whom one is having a liking. And third is being completely rata, engaged in their katha. And fourth is Kuryadvasam, staying in Vraja, if possible physically, otherwise mentally. Okay. And then second topic was the right kind of meditation for a Raganuga sadhaka. What is the right kind of meditation? So we discussed from Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani that the bona fide meditation is to remember the activities of Vrajvasi to whom one has become attracted. Third topic was how will I know which Vrajvasi to follow? So this is a very important question. If we have this question, then it is sure that we are not yet qualified to enter. Okay, that's what Maharaj says here. The truth is that devotees qualified to cultivate such a relationship would not ask this question. Okay, how will I know which Vrajvasi to follow? No, it doesn't start like that by choosing one. Automatically, spontaneously, upon reading the pastimes of Vrindavan, one gets attracted to a particular rasa and particular Vrajavasi. Okay, then he is qualified. One doesn't plan it that I will get attracted to this person. Okay, it's not planned to enter in this path. Fourth topic was prerequisites for remembering Krishna and the Vrajavasis. So, two very important prerequisites were there, which we saw purity of heart, because if that purity is not there, then mind will again and again think about the sense gratification. And second was suitable knowledge. From where do we get this knowledge? By reading the books of the acharyas. Okay, so he very much mentioned knowledge of Rajvasi pastime features and qualities provide the subject matter in which the person will immerse his mind. But for that immersion, first purity should be there. So for this, he very nicely quoted these two stanzas. Vishaya chadiya kabe shuddha habe mana, kabe hama hera bashri vrindavana. So one has to first give up the sense gratification. And second was Rupa Raghunatha Pade. Pade means the books which they have written, the slokas which they have written. They are called Pada. Haibe Akuti. For them, when I will have attraction. Kabe hama bujabashara yugal apiriti. Yeah. And fifth topic was the development of attraction to Vrindavan. That will be gradual. Okay. So it's not overnight. So Maharaj has explained this, the very thing which I was telling. First, a general attraction for a particular devotional mood arises, perhaps friendship or conjugal love. Next, a specific attraction to devotees who render service in that mood develops. Okay. The last to awaken when the taste and attachment have matured is attraction to a specific Vrajvasi. Yeah. And sixth topic was genuine Ragana Bhakti cannot be imitated. Okay. It will only create a trouble in the sadhana only. Okay. What are the internal and external practices? So this very famous shloka of Rupa Goswami was told, Seva sadhak rupena siddha rupena chatrihi tad bhava lipsuna karya vraj loka anusaratah. So he mentioned 2 points, which are the first is seva sadhak rupena. In the physical body which one has, one should perform service. Following after the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his associates, or Srila Prabhupada, or one's guru. Okay, following after them. And second topic was discussed was Siddha Rupena Chatrahi. That is, one can perform service in one's Siddha body, which one is able to conceive based on his attraction. Okay, these two topics we have discussed. Yeah. But however, one should not imagine a Siddhadeha on his own. Okay. Yeah. And from here we have to discuss now. Okay, before we start this topic, anybody has any question on what we have discussed till now? Somebody may think actually it is becoming too much project like this uh, very esoteric topics are there and we are discussing here. These are within the 19 chapters of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, sorry, NOD, and we are just dealing little bit detail. Okay, so that the misconception which is there, that can be removed. Okay, we are not discussing anything esoteric as such. Yeah, Arun Prabhu, you have any question?
Yes, Prajit. I wanted to ask regarding chanting. Like you told, five obstacles like it shape others.
Mm.
So, last time you were saying that we should hear our mantras and it should be loud enough that a person beside us can hear and we should be able to hear. So normally I have seen Ruji like I am unable to hear my chanting when if someone is chanting around me. Like if someone is chanting and his voice is falling into my ears significantly, then I'm not able to like concentrate on my words. So, and if I'm alone, then some like most of the times I can chant attentively, or sometimes I sleep also. So, what should I infer from this? Which kind of obstacle or at what level am I there?
Yeah, means as we have discussed already that japa we saw na japa is chanting which is done very softly. We had seen na that.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, so I will not show again. Yeah, so NOD Srila Prabhupada very clearly mentions actually while defining the word chanting, he very much japa he defines. He says that chanting with very soft voice. Okay, uh, lagu ucharana is called chanting. So it is meant to be done like that only, so that one can hear. But we may not have people around us who will be following that, so their sound will come to us. So two things, as you mentioned, one is we should hear our own chanting. So you have to make a space and find a space where you can hear your chanting. There is no compromise in that. Okay, you have to find out that how you will be able to do. Okay, so previously, as such, when I mentioned this practice of chanting together in a circle or in a group was not there. As we have seen, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a separate room where he would chant, and other acharyas also. Nobody was chanting in a congregation. But initially, it may be required because as we have grown in Kali Yuga ahead, so it may be required initially that devotees will need some support in the beginning. But after they have chanted 1 year or more, they should be given more independence and they should be given their own place where they can chant by not having this disturbance. Okay, this is my personal opinion. And another thing is the sleepiness and other things which you are mentioning. That is surely indication that we are not having that much attraction towards Krishna. Why that is not there? Because the anarthas are there in heart. Okay, so tadasma sharam hridayam batedam anagriyamane harinam dhye netre jalam katra ruheshu harshad. Uh, so that verse in second canto mentions that the very fact that we are not getting tears in our eyes and we are not having the stage of bhava by chanting once the holy name is that we have committed previously some aparadh and we have anarthas in our heart that is there. So all of us have them. So nothing to be shameful of. All of us have. There is somebody has less, somebody has more, and somebody has one type, somebody has another type of anartha. Okay. So what is the practical solution? So for that, here the same book, Madhur Kadamini, before describing all these things, it has also described Anartha Nivritti process. So for that, the limbs of bhakti only what is mentioned that we should be engaging Nam Sankirtan, Sadhu Sangha, okay, Bhagavad Shravan, and Madhurava Shri Murtirera, Shraddhaya Sevan. These five potent limbs, they can very quickly remove the obstacles from the heart. And among them, whichever one likes the most, he should engage in that. That will very, very quickly remove the anartha in the heart. So this is the second point that, and we can do some practical things also, practical measures also when we are feeling sleepy is, many devotees share many things like we can have a determined vow before chanting that I want to chant very nicely and make the mindset like that. And second thing we can have is prepare our chanting before in the night by sleeping early, not having very heavy food in the night as a dinner. Okay, so some preparations should be done and finding out if one is interested actually in chanting nicely, he will surely find out why am I getting sleep, even though I have had sufficient sleep, or what is the reason. Okay, so first is to have sufficient sleep. Practical measures should be done. Then also, if one is getting sleep, then okay, one can pray to Krishna that okay. So one should attentively try. as such, if one is feeling sleepy while sitting, that is in Satuguna, sitting is like in Satuguna, one can try to do chanting as standing or walking. Okay, so these measures can be taken for some time, but actual chanting happens when one is able to meditate on the meaning of the mantra that, "O Shrimati Radharani, O Krishna, please engage me in your service." That meaning Srila Prabhupada has given us. So I think these practical measures should be also taken as making one's space for chanting so that one can hear his mantra he chanting. Some devotees sit in a place alone, but they play Prabhupada's japa. So that is not recommended. Prabhupada never told that you hear my japa and count your mantras. Okay, one has to chant his own mantra and then hear his own mantra and then count his own mantra. Okay, so there is no recommendation Prabhupada has given like that. And sometimes devotees go to another extreme. They play Prabhupada recording in 2x, 4x, and they try to complete 16 rounds in 1 hour. So that is not at all good. And they complete 64 rounds in 4 hours. That is not at all good. Okay. So some devotees have done in past and they did not have very good experience in a longer time. So that should not be done. So one has to hear his own mantra. There is no doubt about that. How that you have to find out. Okay, how to make your space. And as far as sleeping, that also I told whatever is there. Okay, is it okay, bro?
Yes, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Bhakti Leela Mataji, you have anything? Share.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raganuga sadhana bhakti means they both have the one main difference, that is raga, is deep thirst,
Correct.
deep spontaneous thirst. So my question is that greed means the definition include intense deep thirst. So what happened if someone has less less what less grid,
Mm.
so they come in means they means on what platform they are, means they are coming in Raganuga platform or still Vaidhi Sadhana platform.
Ah, yes. One thing I want to clarify, Miss, if I understood your question properly, is the two paths which are there, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. The difference you said is that raga, correct, na? Yeah. So raga is defined as basically deep thirst for Krishna, correct? That is not there in both of them actually. Vaidhi and Raganuga both don't have that because Raganuga is trying to follow a person who has that raga. That is called Ragatmika person. He has deep thirst for Krishna, like Mother Yashoda or Nand Maharaj or Radharani or Lalita Vishakha. So this Raganuga sadhaka, he is a practitioner and he wants to achieve that rag. What he has is greed.
Yes, Prabhuji. That
Yeah.
Raganuga level, if someone has less less grid.
Greed. Yeah, I'm coming to the question, but is this part clear, which I
Yes.
told till now? This is clear. Okay. He has only greed, little bit attraction, little bit loba. He doesn't have raga. He doesn't have the full intense deep thirst. That is there with ragatmika. Okay, this is clear. Now the question is that okay, these two paths are there. Now if what the other person has a like very less greed. Okay. So my question to you, Mataji, is in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, are there different levels of faith described or not? Did we study that different level of faiths, less faith, medium faith, and advanced faith, Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam
Yes,
Adhikari,
yes.
Uttam Adhikari? We studied, na? So where there it was how it was defined. Komal Shraddha, how was it defined? It was defined as Yo Bhavet Komal Shraddha, Sa Kanishta Nigadyate. One who has Komal Shraddha, soft, very low amount of faith. He is also Adhikari. What is his name? Kanishta Adhikari. He has his position, Kanishta, but he is Adhikari. Okay. Then there is Yah Shastra Yukti Cha Anupunah. Okay. So he is Anupana in Shastra Yukti, but Dridha Shraddha he has. He is called Madhyama. Okay. And one person is that he has Shastriyuktascha Nipunah Prouಢ Shraddha. He has very good amount of faith. He is called Uttama Adhikari. All three are Adhikari. So similarly, we have to understand in Raganuga Sadhana also, one has these levels of faith. Okay, this I am not saying from myself. It is there in Bhakti Tattva Viveka, one book by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Okay, so that I will show. So there he has mentioned that how a person will have different levels of faith before one has full degree of, sorry, before different levels of greed, before he goes into the highest level of greed, which is come at the level of only bhava or asakti, like that. Okay, but when he's at the stage of nishtha, he will have less amount of greed, kanistha greed he will have, some attraction for Vrindavan, little bit attraction for Vraj pastime. But when he grows little more ruchi, asakti he reaches, he will have madhyama greed, more attraction to a particular rasa he will get. Oh, he is Madhuri ras or Sakhya ras, that is very good. And when one goes even more ahead at the last stages of asakti, then he will have a particular Vrajvasi of that rasa. Oh, he is my goal. I want to become a follower of him. So their greed has different levels. I will just show the Praman references here. Okay, I'm showing from this book called Bhakti Tattva Viveka by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Okay, see here. Uh, see, please read this.
Other people can damage the
Oh, yeah,
faith.
just 1 minute. 1 minute. So, what is the topic going on here? Qualification is determined by degree of faith. Okay, that is the topic here. You can see. Okay, that is the topic. So, he has defined, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is defining for Vaidhi sadhana. Three types of people are there: Uttama, Madhyama, and Kanishta. Okay, their respective qualifications I told you already. Shastri Yukta cha Nipuna, Shraddha, he has Drida. He is called Uttama. What is Madhyama? Yes, Shastradishu Anipuna. He is not very much conversant with the scriptures, but he has Shraddha, very good faith. He is called Madhyama. And third is Komal Shraddha. He is called Kanishta. Okay. Yeah. Now read this.
Other people can damage the faith of Kanishta by logic based on scripture. It will be seen there that the three types of faithful person in Vaidhi Bhakti are classed according to the faith in the scripture and faith mixed with logic following after the faith in scripture.
Yeah. So this was a part of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. How the faith in the scripture is there based on logic and the degree of faith. Okay. Now read about this. Yeah.
Qualification for Raganuga Bhakti is according to the degree of greed and divided similarly into Uttama, Madhyama and Kanishta.
Yeah. So we have to understand that for Raghunath Sadhana also it is not 0 and 1. It also has gradually development of greed from very small degree of attraction to Vrindavan, pastimes of Vrindavan. One just feels, yeah, actually, yeah, other pastimes are little more awe and reverence, but Vrindavan pastimes are very sweet. Okay, there is not much awe and reverence. That is the beginning. Okay, that is the answer.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Mataji. Yeah. Prem Latika Mataji, you had any question or any comment?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, actually, I was just we are discussing Raganuga Bhaktas. Those I was having one neighbor who used to follow that Haveli,
What?
Nimbarka
Your
Follow?
voice
Sampradaya.
is low, bro. Voice is low, Mataji.
Is it good now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is it good? Prabhuji, I was having one neighbor who were following that Nimbarka Sampradaya, that Haveli, they go to the Haveli. They don't stay in a temple. They say Haveli. We follow Haveli. So they have elaborate deity worship of Laddu Gopal. But that worship's mood is in the form as if a mother and child relation. Like if there is Haryali Tej, then they will decorate laddu with green clothes and offer laddu 10 to 15 elaborate food items only in green color. So they are following that. They don't give much stress upon chanting. So
Hmm.
in what category do they follow? I
Hmm.
mean, follow, worshipping Laddu Gopal is Vaidhi sadhana bhakti for them, or I mean, they might be told that we have to chant, but I never saw that lady chanting very sincerely.
Yeah, which one they are following? You told in the beginning.
Haveli, Haveli,
No, before
Haveli.
that you told which parampara?
Nimbarka,
Nimbark Swami. Okay, yeah. So, Nimbark Swami. Yeah.
Nimbarkacharya.
Yeah. So what I remember, just 1 minute, is that this parampara, na, which is there, called as what do you know? Yeah, they are follower Raghunaga Sadhana. What is that? Pushti Marga. Correct. Yeah.
Pushti Margi,
Correct.
right,
Correct.
Pushti Margi.
Yeah. So Pushti Marga, that is there. It's mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu only. Okay. So I will show that in the last verse of this, na, Rupa Goswami is saying, okay, here it is going to come. This Pushti Marga will be told. That is bona fide actually. And Rupa Goswami is mentioning, okay, Marga Kaishchit. Okay, it's not there in this. Okay, I'll show in word file. 1 minute. So it is bona fide, Mataji. But as you know, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is bona fide, correct? Na? But every person associated with our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya may not be bona fide practitioner. You
Hmm.
understanding the difference?
Hmm.
Parampara is bona fide. But every practitioner, can we say he is practicing bona fide?
No.
No, correct. Na? Similarly, we cannot judge the parampara by seeing the practice of a person. Okay, first that point has to be clear.
Okay.
Okay, na? So we will not be able to understand the whole parampara, what it is, whether it is bona fide or not, by that person. Okay. So we have to understand the parampara separately from authentic books and our acharyas, our Prabhupada and our guru, and about that parampara, whether it is bona fide. So Pushti Marg is very much bona fide. We cannot comment on that person's practice because I have not studied what is Pushti Marg and what are their practices. So I don't know what that person is doing is right or wrong. Okay. I may know little bit about our sampradaya, but other sampradaya, our only I don't know much fully. So others, how we can comment. So
See,
first this, yeah,
my
yes, Mat.
concern was that the
Uh,
way she used to serve her Laddu Gopal,
uh,
her bhav was so nice that she used to put that, sigdi kind of thing when there is winter. And I once asked, Auntie, here is heat in Pune, and why you are keeping that? Laddu will feel more heat, no? She said, no, there is winter in Vrindavan, so
uh,
therefore I am keeping it. And the Laddu resides in Vrindavan only. So I
uh,
liked her bhav very much, but when we were discussing Raganuga Bhakti, I
thinking,
was thinking that what was her
uh,
way? Is it Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti for her only?
uh,
That she is following, I, whether she comes in the category of Raganuga or Vaidhi, because for her, what is being described, what is being prescribed, she is following. Because she is a very nice devotee, but rarely saw her chanting. But the seva she was doing from morning 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. She was in the seva of Laddu Gopal by
yeah.
preparing elaborate dishes and everything very nicely.
So basically, I don't know about that devotee's practice, whether it is not, but surely Raganuga path is the only path which Pushti Marg has, or Vallabhacharya, or you say Pushti Marg, this devotees when they worship. So that is the only path. They don't have any Vaidhi sadhana part. From the first day, they are supposed to do Raganuga sadhana only. Okay, so now one may think, Arey, how is it that we are doing so much struggle in ISKCON? We are going through Vaidhi sadhana, then only after so much of anartha then we are told we should only think about if that greed is there. How they are doing? We don't know the past life of those people who are attracted to that sampradaya may be already qualified. So how one is attracted to one sampradaya is based on one's liking and one's qualification also. Na? Like everybody doesn't get attracted to ISKCON. Somebody people may get attracted to Shri Sampradaya. Somebody may get attracted to Madhva Sampradaya or other Sampradaya, okay, Rudra Sampradaya, whatever. And similarly, here we have this Vallabhacharya's Pushti Marg. So, previous lives they will have qualifications. Based on that, they will be able to take up to that path and continue in long term. So we don't know. So, but this much I know that from first day they practice Raganuga sadhana only, which is very genuine as a practice, and their methods are very genuine, and they can attain their results based on their acharya's teachings. That is very sure. Just like we can attain our destinations on our acharya's teaching, they can also attain. That is the only thing. Okay. So that is how, and many times it may be genuine also. We don't have to imitate and we don't have to judge them, but we can take something good if that is there. But we can take it only if it is taught by our acharyas. And just like it is told, when we receive anything from other person, we should bring it to our guru. And then again, when the guru gives it back, then it becomes bona fide and authorized. So like that. Okay, Mataji.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Aruna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have a question from the verses that were discussed from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter number 4. So,
Uh-huh.
shall I ask now or shall I ask towards the end of the class?
Yeah, you can ask. Yeah.
Prabhuji, I was reading it yesterday and um as the purport begins, Prabhupada is mentioning three types of bhakti there. Like bhakti, bracket mein, he writes ordinary devotional services. Then he talks about Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service. And then he mentioned Vidhi, I mean VIDDHA, Vidha
Correct.
Bhakti.
Correct.
That is adulthood,
Yeah, they
devotional
are
service.
like terminologies of Jiva Goswami, Prabhupada is using there. Yeah.
Prabhuji, I just wanted to please explain it in short once again, na, because I misunderstood Vidha as Vaidhi Bhakti.
No, no,
But then
that is
when I
not
read,
Vaidi.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that is not Vaidi Bhakti. I think that is explained already in Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani, one of the places. I will send it to you, Mataji. You can read, and still if you have question, then you can ask. Okay, so Bhakti there in general, what is mentioned in that purport, na, that is explained by Shivram Swami Maharaj in his book. I will share with you that part. Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji. And about the ordinary bhakti also?
Yeah, three types of bhakti which is mentioned there. Okay,
Mhm.
ordinary bhakti is actually a semblance of bhakti. It's not a Shuddha bhakti, which Prabhupada mentions in that verse in the purport.
Mm.
Okay, so Maharaj has explained it. I don't remember exactly, but this much I remember is that Vidhi Bhakti is surely not Vaidhi Bhakti. At the same time, the simple Bhakti which Prabhupada is writing, the first one, is not pure
Ordinary.
Bhakti, ordinary Bhakti. Yeah, it's not the pure Bhakti. It is like mixed Bhakti. They may have some tendencies of Jnana or Karma, but mainly they may practice Bhakti, like we had discussed, if you remember. Guni Bhoot, Pradhani Bhoot. So
Mm.
they are in the Pradhani Bhoot category basically. Arto, Jigyasu, Artharthi. Primarily they worship Krishna, but if they have some desires, they ask also, yeah, I want some money, Arto, Jigyasu, Artharthi, like that. Okay, that's how it is.
Prabhuji, but same thing is mentioned for Vidha Bhakti also. It is, I mean, Gyan Karma part is mentioned for Vidha Bhakti when Prabhupada is explaining it further in the purport. Now, that is why I got confused. Ki what is the difference between Vidha and ordinary Bhakti?
Hmm. I have to see. That's what I don't remember. I will see and then tell you.
Oh, all right, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Okay, so we'll continue. So as I told again, I will give this caution. Then when we are discussing this, it's not a recommendation that devotees start it. Okay, it's only that we understand this topic properly and remove the misconceptions what we may have, so that we can worship this topic properly. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should be worshipped, Radharani should be worshipped, Krishna should be worshipped. But to worship properly, we have to understand what is the tattva. So that way we are discussing, and nothing esoteric we are trying to discuss. This is all within 19 chapters of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu or NOD. Okay, so we will continue today's discussion on the practice of Raghuna's Bhakti. There are 8 topics which we have already discussed. This is ninth topic. So beware of the Sahajiya misinterpretation of this verse. Which verse? The verse which we have discussed is Seva Sadhak Rupena Siddhu Rupena Chatri Tad Bhav Lipsuna Karya Vrajaloka Anusaratah. This is the verse which Shivram Maharaj is expanding on. So, what is the verse saying? Verse is saying one should do service in one's physical body, following after Rupa Goswami or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or the Shad Goswamis or Srila Prabhupada or the current Acharyas, one's Guru Maharaj. Seva Sadhak Rupena, that is the meaning. Siddha Rupena Chatre means while one is physically serving, one should also, if he is qualified, should conceive a spiritual body and do his service in meditation. Okay, and we had seen very importantly that The services can be done at the mental level, okay, and at the level of physical level. Physical level is for sadhak rupa and mental level is for the siddha rupa. Okay, this we have discussed. Yeah, so a little bit of the commentary from Jiva Goswami. He says, one serves with a desire for the particular bhava or rati of an associate of Krishna situated in Vraja. Okay, so one is not situated in Vraja. That associate is situated in Vraja. Okay, so please understand it that way. One is serving with a desire to attain that particular bhava, that associate who is situated in Vraja. And one should follow in the footsteps of the dear associate of Krishna in Vraja and others loyal to them. One should follow after dear devotees of Krishna such as Radha, Lalita, Vishakha, Shri Rup Manjari, and those following after them, persons such as Rup and Sanatan Goswami. So this we have discussed is for following after in Sadhak Deha. And these devotees, not devotees, these perfected personalities are to be followed after in Siddha Deha. Okay, and then he mentions accordingly one should perform mental service in one's Siddha Rupa, following after examples of Sri Radha, Lalita, Vishakha, Rup Manjari, and others. That is only in Siddha Rupa one should do. One should not do their activities in Sadhak Deha, Sadhak Rupa. Okay, by saying that, oh yes, I will not be following Ekadashi because they never did. No, one doesn't have to bring their things in the Sadhak Rupa. For Sadhak Rupa, one has to follow the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's example, Sad Goswami's example, other Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, and one's Guru. That example one has to follow. Okay, if one's physical body, in one's physical body, one should perform services using one's body, following after persons such as Sri Rupa and Sanatan Goswami situated in Vraja. So this is the point has been mentioned already. Now we are seeing beware of the Sahajiya misinterpretation of the verse. So how do Sahajiyas misinterpret this verse? That will be discussed. Okay, yes, we'll read this part from Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani. Madhav Harinam Prabhu, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Uh, Certain Siddhi Vaishnavas interpret the verse under discussion to mean that a sadhaka should follow the activities of the Brajavasis externally as well as internally. For example, a man will dress as a gopi and sing the voice and mannerism of a young girl, thinking his activity to be sadhana. Nothing more need to be said of such a sam in the name of devotion.
Yeah, so this Maharaj is using this word sham. Basically, it's very, very, what you say, degraded activity by doing this kind of thing. We have already seen, I think, if you have visited Jagannath Puri or Vrindavan, many times we would have seen people who are male but dressing as female. Okay, and wearing all kind of jewelries and sari and everything. So this is not what this verse is saying. That is a misinterpretation of the verse. And pseudo Vaishnavas will only do like that. Yeah, continue.
Other studio Vaishnavas remain in the dress of practitioner, but neglect the sacred activities of sadhana bhakti. During Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's time, a disciple of Hemalata Thakurani, Rupa Kaviraja, propagated this deviation. He reasoned that since the gopis did not accept spiritual masters, observe Ekadashi, or worship either Saligram Shila or Tulasi Devi, it was not necessary for sadhakas to do so.
Yeah, so because there have been examples like this in the past, so people have become very much averse to this Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti because it was misused so much. Okay, so it is due that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada have critiqued this externally following these kind of things, Sajiaism, okay, which has nothing to do with Raganuga Sadhana. Okay, so here example is given. Hemalata Thakurani's disciple Rup Kaviraj, he propagated this kind of thing. There, he propagated that one can do in his sadhak deha, physical body, activities of siddha. Who are the siddha? Rupa, Manjari, and Lalita, Vishakha. all these people, there are Siddha devotees. Their activities can be copied into the Sadhak Deha. That is the misinterpretation they are trying to do, which was very much discouraged by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and later he drove away Rup Kaviraj from Vrindavan, and he later actually died out of leprosy. I think it may come here. I don't know. Yeah, read. Yeah, please read, please. Okay, I think Prabhuji, the internet is not. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you able to hear? Please read.
Hare Krishna. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur denounced this divergence from the truth and drove Rupa Kaviraj out of Braja. Sometime later, Rupa Kaviraja left his body, suffering from leprosy.
Yeah.
Jiva Goswami, in his commentary, has explained this with the words Brajalokas tab atra Krishna prishta janas tad anugata tad anusarataha. Brajaloka means those dear to Krishna, like Sri Radha, etc., and persons following after them, like Sri Rupa, etc. One should follow in their footsteps.
Yeah. So, what to speak of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, even at the time of Jiva Goswami only, there were people who told that one should follow after the Radharani, Lalita, Vishakha in one's physical body, not Vishwanath, even that time. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur time is later. Jiva Goswami's time was much earlier. That time only deviation had started, and they told Jiva Goswami only that you are misinterpreting what Rupa Goswami is telling. Rupa Goswami has not told anywhere that one should not dress like a gopi. You are telling wrongly. So people are saying like that at the time of Jiva Goswami, while Jiva Goswami was present all those 19 years with Rupa Goswami while writing this commentary. He has seen Rupa Goswami writing the whole book and he has assisted him, and they are telling that Jiva Goswami only is deviating. So such is the height of yeah deviation. 10th topic: practical application of the sadhaka and siddha rupa. Yeah, please read, Prabhuji.
Externally, devotees in spontaneous service follow the teachings and examples of the sadhaka forms of the eternal residents of Braja. Gaudiya Vaishnavas follow the example of Rupa Goswami, the sadhaka form of Rupa Manjari. Thus, they are known as Rupa Nugas.
Yeah, so now one may think, okay, what one is supposed to do externally and internally after we understood, and suppose we are qualified, then or we come across a person who may be doing raganu sadhana. So very interesting to know, okay, what he is doing externally, what he is doing internally, right? What he is doing as a siddha, as a sadhaka, what he is doing practice. So this is what mentioned here. Externally, devotees in spontaneous service means raganu sadhana bhakti. This is not bhava bhakti. Follow the teachings and examples of sadhaka only. But which forms? Those were eternal residents of Raja. What are the examples? Example of Rupa Goswami, the sadhaka form of Rupa Manjari, and other Goswamis and Srila Prabhupada and one's Guru Maharaj. So like that they follow their examples in one's life. They are that's why called as Rupanugas. Yeah, continue.
Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Rupa Goswami's character, literary achievements, dedication to the Lord Chaitanya, and excavation of many of the Krishna's pastime places. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 19.115 to 134. Devotees should meditate on and emulate the traits and service of Rupa Goswami by understanding the heart of his mission and then trying to assist him in spreading Krishna consciousness. Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. Sri Prema Bhakti Chandrika Mangalacharan.
So one may think that yeah, Raghunava sadhana means he just does things spontaneously, Prabhuji. Some days he will do Mangalarti, some days he will not do. Some day he will do chanting, some day he will not do. Some day he will do some activity, some day he will not do. Like that is called Raganu. One may think like that. But that is not what it is. Okay. It is everything but not that. Okay. Which is against the scripture. So what does that person do who is a Raghunav Sadhaka? In his external form, he exactly follows after the teachings of Rupa Goswamis as they did in their life, as Srila Prabhupada did in his life, as his Guru Maharaj is doing in his life, he exactly follows in his Sadhaka Deha. Okay. He doesn't become spontaneous in the name of spontaneous doing anything and everything. Okay. So if we anytime see somebody spontaneously doing all those things, then we have to question whether he is doing proper Vaidhi sadhana or not. Okay, that is the point. Yeah, yeah. Continue.
Members of ISKCON accept that Srila Prabhupada is also an eternal resident of Vrindavan, and his example is even more relevant to us. To be member of ISKCON means to be absorbed in Prabhupada's personal qualities, compassion, preaching spirit, unparalleled achievements, and literary masterpieces.
Yeah. So actually, Prabhupada's teachings are complete, and Prabhupada's biographies, if we see, there has not been any person in the world on whom so many biographies are written. There must be at least 200 biographies just for Srila Prabhupada. Okay, by his disciples. More than 200 actually. And if you just see Shatsvarup Goswami Maharaj, he has written how many biographies of Prabhupada. That itself will be more than biographies of any other person in the world, written by all the people. Okay, only Shatsvarup Maharaj written more commentaries on more biographies of Prabhupada than of anybody in the world. How many biographies have been written? So Prabhupada teachings are complete, and his example is very, very, very to the, like we say na, lighthouse, which gives direction to us. So Prabhupada's example is like that, and we should follow, as Maharaj is saying, his personal qualities, his compassion that he had, and then his sacrificing spirit, his preaching spirit. Okay, unparalleled achievements what he has, and literary masterpieces. Everything what Prabhupada did, completely he excelled into it. Writing books, translating books, or preaching, everything. So one should follow in the example of Srila Prabhupada. And if somebody thinks that by reading previous acharyas and by following Ragano sadhana, one will become lax, one will become lazy, he will become bhajananandi, he will not do any preaching, then that person is not actually properly doing sadhana, Vaidi or Raganuga, anyone. Okay, anyone who is doing either Vaidhi sadhana bhakti or Raghunath sadhana bhakti will follow in the example of Srila Prabhupada very nicely. So if one is not following it externally, at least, then one is not doing any of the sadhana properly. That we have to understand. Okay. Yes, Roji, please read.
Srila Prabhupada's disciples have written many books to help devotees absorb their minds in the Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada himself left an ocean of instructions in his writings, lectures, conversations, and correspondence. His followers may hear these instructions to remain fully connected to him and in order to cultivate their desire to follow in his footsteps.
Yeah, so two things are mentioned. Prabhupada disciples have written many books, as I told, more than 200 biographies to absorb their mind in the personality of Srila Prabhupada, how he actually acted in his sadhaka deha. Okay, Srila Prabhupada is obviously Nitya Siddha, but he is setting an example for us. Okay, and Srila Prabhupada himself, what he has written, his books, lectures, conversations, correspondence, I think it will take whole life if one just takes up this project of reading everything that Prabhupada has only given. Just doing what Prabhupada is given, it will take more than one life. So his followers may hear these instructions to remain fully connected. And in 2013, GBC passed a resolution actually to every devotee in ISKCON to follow that one should have a personal connection with Srila Prabhupada, irrespective of who is his Siksha Guru, who is his Diksha Guru. As the founder Acharya, as a preeminent Siksha Guru of ISKCON society, one has to personally have a connection with Srila Prabhupada. That is a GBC resolution, okay, which was passed. So that's why here Maharaj is saying his followers may hear these instructions to remain fully connected to him, and in order to cultivate their desire to follow in his footsteps. Okay. So if somebody not following in his footsteps, then the question is there whether actually he is doing any sadhana properly, whether Vaidhi or Raganuga. Yeah, please read.
In this way, ISKCON's member can practice remembering one of Lord Chaitanya's confidential associates.
Yeah. So for us, it's a boon in ISKCON that we can practice remembering Srila Prabhupada, who is like a Senapati Bhakt of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very confidential associate, and follow in his footsteps in the form of a sadhaka deha, like that. Okay, next topic is clarification on the terminology of sadhak rupa and siddha rupa. So one may think, one may get a doubt. Oh, you mentioned that Rupa Goswami, other six Goswamis, and these are like sadhaka rupa, sadhaka deha. So are they sadhakas or what? So that will be clarified. No, they are not sadhakas. They are all siddhas, but they have come in the form of these personalities. Okay, why? To set an example. Okay, we will see. Okay, so Yamuna Vilas Prabhu, we want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah. The term sadhaka in the verse under discussion needs to be clarified. It generally refers to devotees who are not yet completely mature but who are trying to achieve perfection through devotional service in practice. In this verse, however, the meaning of sadhaka rupa should be understood in another sense, in the context of Lord Chaitanya's mission.
Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya and his associates like Rupa Goswami appear as practicing Vaishnavas in order to taste the bliss of service in separation. Moreover, the sadhaka forms of Lord Chaitanya's associates in the world are projections of their eternal identities in the Shvetadvip portion of Goloka.
Yeah, so as we discussed in Golok Vrindavan, there are two parts. One part is where Radha Krishna Leela is going on, and other part is where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela is going on. So here there is Lalita, Vishakha, all that. And here there is Swarup Damodar Goswami, Ramanand Rai. Here there is Rupa Manjari, Lavang Manjari. Here there is Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, like that. So they are both parallelly going on and both are eternal pastimes. So there is Bhauma Vrindavan Leela. When Bhauma Vrindavan Leela happens, all the Radha Krishna Leela members they appear in this world. And when there is Bhauma Chaitanya Leela in this Mayapur Navdeep Dham, then all the eternal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, they all appear in their eternal forms. Okay, so both are eternal forms, both are also Siddha, but they appear in the forms of Sadhaka for us to follow in Sadhaka Deha. And these personalities appear in the form of Siddha for us to conceive a form similar to theirs and follow after them. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Yeah, continue.
In other words, both the sadhaka rupas and the siddha rupas of Lord Chaitanya's eternal companions are perfected forms that represent two different methods of devotion.
Moods.
Sorry, different moods of devotion.
Hmm.
One of aspiration for perfection, the other of engagement in perfection. Both are perfect. The term Siddha Rupa, when used, for example, to refer to Rupa Manjari, does not imply that Rupa Goswami's sadhaka form is imperfect and temporary.
Yeah, so going back to this, so here as we have Rupa Manjari, who is eternal associate of Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. So here we have Rupa Goswami, who is a eternal associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Shvetadip. Okay, that is in eternal Navdeep. Now one may say, oh, how is it that one person is there in two places? How is it possible that the same person is there in two places? It is just in the same way as Krishna is there in the form of Lord Chaitanya in Shvedip. Krishna is one person. He is there in two forms. One is Krishna himself, other one is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like that, other personality also can expand. That is explained in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Okay. That Narada Muni is explaining that many associates like Narada Muni himself can expand in many places. Yeah. Yeah, continue.
The eternal companions of Lord Chaitanya are fully mature in devotion, and their forms are perfect and eternal, as are those of their counterparts in Braja.
गौरांगेर
So,
संगीगणे नित्य सिद्ध करिमाने से याया व्रजेंद्र सुतपास से गण श्री गौर मंडल भूमि ये बजाने चिंतामणि तार हया व्रज भूमि वास. So basically the focus is here. Gaurangera Sangigane, who are the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nitya Siddha. They are all Nitya Siddha. They are not sadhakas. They may appear as a form of sadhaka for us to follow. They are not sadhakas like us. That is the point. Okay. Next, Raganuga practitioners practice the same limbs as Vedavaidi sadhakas. So one may think, what extra is this person doing? He is Raganuga sadhaka, we are Vedi sadhakas. So he must be doing some extra chanting, extra something, some other mantras chanting or what. So that is mentioned here. What are their practices? So earlier practices were mentioned: Krishna Smarana, remembering Krishna, Janam Chasya, and a close associate of Krishna whom he wants to follow. And then uh, Krishna Smaran Janam Chasya Preshtham Nij Samihitam Tat Tat Katharatas, and then hearing about the pastimes of that person. Vrajloka Anusaratah, following after them. Yeah, now here it will explain what this Raganuga Sadhana extra limbs does he practice, or he does he practice the same limbs, or he practices less limbs. Yeah, so this is mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Shravano Utkirtanadini Vaidhi Bhakti Uditani tu Yani Angani Chatani Atra Vigyayani Manishibhihi. Yeah, please read.
the discriminating practitioners should accept the angas which were mentioned in Vaidhi Bhakti, such as hearing and chanting, as the angas of Raganuga Bhakti.
Yeah. So very clearly Rupa Goswami is saying that they should accept the same angas, 64 angas which were mentioned earlier for Vaidhi sadhakas. Yeah, please read.
Along with hearing and chanting, items such as surrendering to the lotus feet of Guru should be understood as favorable. Without those favorable items, how can one accomplish following after the eternal inhabitants of Raja?
Yeah. Okay, my internet was having issue, I think. Without those favorable items, how can one accomplish following after the eternal inhabitants of Raja? Yeah. So basically the most important limbs which are mentioned, like Ado, Guru, Pada, Shraya, okay, all this should be understood as favorable. Yeah.
After
Continue.
considering with intelligence, one should select activities conducive to one's own sentiments for Krishna, and not those activities which are contrary to one's sentiments.
So this is the important point, that some things can be avoided by Raganuga sadhakas after considering with intelligence. And intelligence based on what? Based on Shastra. Okay. And seeing the previous examples, previous Raganuga sadhakas, how they have used their intelligence. So one should select activities conducive. That which is opposing, he should give up. What are the, so one may think, oh, is it there something which can be opposing to Raganuga sadhana, or is there something which can be opposing also? Yeah, there can be something, it will be mentioned later, we will see. Yeah, so now the question may arise, okay, what kind of hearing does he do? Raganuga sadhaka, does he do only hearing of 10th canto? Or does he do everything hearing? Or he hears whatever comes on its own accord? Or does he think something particular to hear? Okay, what does he do? Okay, yeah, please read. Okay, maybe somebody else can read. Who has not read can read. Dipali Mataji, you want to read? Okay, maybe she is busy. Somebody else can read. Yeah, Arun Pro.
They do not, Raganuga practitioners practices the same limbs as the Vedic sadhakas. They do not give up hearing, but spend more time hearing the particular topics that nourish their serving mood. Devotees attracted to the loving exchanges between Krishna and the cowherd boys read books describing the Gopas. Devotees following the goddesses of Raja read about the Gopis' special love services and moods.
Yeah. So first thing is they do not give up hearing. If somebody is giving up hearing, they are not doing either Vaidir sadhana also or Raguna sadhana. Okay. So first thing is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. These all things are not to be given up at any stage of bhakti and in any kind of practice of bhakti. If somebody is giving up, then we have to question whether he is doing any sadhana at all, not to speak of Raganuga sadhana. Okay. So he does not give up hearing, but spend more time hearing the particular topics that nourish the serving mood. Okay. Just like earlier, if you remember, we had discussed the example somebody likes cow, sorry, somebody likes milk. So then he will find out how to obtain this milk. He will ask people, he will read books about it, how to purchase a cow, he will get the money for that, how to milk the cow, how to boil the milk. Okay, all that arrangement he will make if he wants to drink the milk. Okay, so similarly, if one wants to attain Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti's final goal, that is a follower of a Vrajavasi, then he has to understand based on scripture and previous sadhus how they followed the path, how they enacted while practicing. Okay, so that thing he may hear because he has a natural taste towards it, so which nourishes his mood. So devotee is attracted to the loving exchanges of between Krishna and cowherd boys. Read books describing the gopas. Somebody may be attracted towards Sakkharas, so he may read about it. So somebody following the goddesses of Raja, that is gopis, read about gopis' special love. So he may read about Madhurya Ras from 10th canto or other books. Why is he doing? Is he wanting to disrespect other contents of the book? No. Okay, there is a very good example we can see in our lives also. Just like when we were studying till 10th standard, so all of us must have studied history, civics, geography, and also science. Correct. But some of us, after we studied 10th, we went to 12th standard, 11th standard, 12th standard. Did we continue studying history, civics if we have taken up science? We gave up that. Not that we had to avoid, we wanted to avoid, or we had some criticism towards history, civics. No, we had a special liking. Maybe we want to read science more. And that is bona fide because we want to progress in that path. We have a goal. We want to become an engineer, doctor, whatever we may want to become. But we want to study more about science. That's very natural. Somebody may think, no, 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 commerce is better. I don't want to study science. Commerce, no problem. That is also bona fide. You have your goal and you attain it. But everybody who has passed 10th standard will have to focus. Focus not on everything. Focus on what you want to attain. Science, commerce, arts. Focus in your respective directions after you have sufficiently studied the basics of the all subjects. Okay. After one passed 12th standard, then what? One is supposed to get into graduation. Maybe B Tech he will want to do. Correct. If he wants to become engineer, he has to give a particular exam. For that, he has to prepare maybe IIT, JEE or whatever. And if he wants to become a medical person, then he has to prepare for NEET exam. So he has to study biology also along with that. So again, there is segregation. Again, there is liking. Again, there is a goal. Again, based on the goal, he has to specifically study those books, prepare for specific exams. It's very clear. He will not keep studying his 10th standard. 10th standard, I studied civics. That I should not disrespect. I should read history. I should read civics before writing my NEET exam. No, it's not like that. He doesn't have that in mind only now. Okay, it is there as in the background. It has done its part and it is basics are there with him. Now after he has done his graduation, then he wants to do suppose masters. So then in that suppose he has studied suppose engineering. So in that he may want to do a specialization in one particular subject. Suppose somebody may want to do engineering in electronics and communication. He gave up all other branches of science actually. Science had so many things. But now he is focusing only on electronics and communication, suppose. Then when he wants to do graduation, after graduation there is post graduation, then in that also he will focus on only one. Suppose digital or no artificial intelligence, something he will do. So it becomes more and more narrow. Does it mean he is disrespecting others? No. His goal is something. He is focusing on the goal and reading the literatures which are conducive for him to hear and read. That is what all of us have been doing. And same is with the spiritual life. Okay, there is no disrespect for other literatures, other sampradaya, or even other books or other rasa. But goal is fixed, focus on it, read on it. Okay, like that is the point. Okay, we'll continue. Yeah, please continue.
At the same time, devotees rejoice in hearing Krishna's pastimes with all the Vedvasis, despite their own aspirations to become followers of a particular associate of the Lord. For instance, followers of the gopis eagerly take shelter of the Gopas, as Rup Goswami does of Subala.
Yeah, so here Maharaj is saying that at the same time devotees rejoice. They have their goal fixed now. Okay, I want to attain that goal. So now they have understood, okay, wanting that goal, I have to hear and read specific. So that specific reading, hearing is their aspirations fulfillment now. Okay, and they are going to fulfill their aspirations based on that reading and hearing. Now, another example is that they are not averse to other rasa. Like Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, who is in Madhurya Ras, but Subala, he is in Sakhya Ras. So, Rupa Goswami in his sadhaka form is praying to Subala, who is in Sakhya Ras. So, there is no aversion. So, he can pray to even Subala. What is his prayer is mentioned here. Okay, so please read the translation.
O Subal, you are the intimate friend of the son and daughter of the best of the Gopas in Braj. Please be merciful and introduce these unhappy persons to your two friends.
Yeah, who are the two friends? Rupa Goswami's goal is clear, Radha and Krishna, service to Radha Krishna. So he is asking whoever can fulfill his goal, that person he will pray. It may be Subala, it may be Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda he will not pray because Vatsalya is opposing to Madhurya Ras. Not in the way we understand in material world, opposing in not in that sense. But Mother Yashoda is not supposed to be aware of Madhurya Ras much. Okay, that is how it is. Okay, so next topic is Raganuga Sadhaka, approach to deity worship. Okay, so and other angas of bhakti. Okay, whether he does full deity worship or he avoids something, that will be described here. Yeah, continue.
Though prescribed in the scriptures, they naturally give up activities of deity worship, such as worshipping Rukmini, meditation of Dwarka, performing mudras and nyasas. Their mood in worship changes along with their increasing absorption in Braj Bhakti.
Yeah, so here out of 64 limbs which are mentioned for Vaidhi Sadhaka, the Raganuga Sadhakas may avoid some of the limbs which is not conducive. Their goal is Radha and Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. So they may avoid worshipping Sri Rukmini and Dwarkadhish. Okay. Why? Because that kind of worship and meditation is in awe and reverence. So they may not find it conducive for them to do such practices. So they may avoid it. Okay. That is the point here. Their mood in worship changes. So what was the change? From awe and reverence to sweetness. Okay. Like that. Along with their increasing absorption in Vraja Bhakti. How it will be explained now. Yeah, please read.
Instead of thinking how to dress the deities of Radha and Krishna according to the rules of Archan, they dress them while thinking about how the Vrajvasis do it. This does not mean they concoct new modes of dress for Radha and Krishna, however.
Yeah, so very, very important slide here. So instead of thinking how to dress the deities of Radha Krishna according to the rules of Archana, they dress them while thinking about how the Vrajvasis do it. Okay, do they artificially do this? No, they have natural attraction towards particular Vrajvasi. So they naturally think of how he dresses. He has read the books and he understands how they do decorate. So he also does the service in a similar way. Okay. At the same time he doesn't do it so differently that it's out of the context of the institute itself, like that will be their next slide. So please remember that institute has its own rules and regulations. So it should not happen that Krishna has to be dressed in a particular way, like here Radha Vrindavan Chandra we have a pagdi, then there is flute, then a particular shash is there, kamarband, like all the things are there, so he doesn't do it so differently that he doesn't look like Krishna only. Okay, so it's not like that. So another point is this does not mean that they concoct. No, they will not concoct. They are, please remember that example again. They are learning from the video. It's not that they are concocting their own plays and shots. No, they are learning from video, but not from the book. That is the point. Okay, is it all right for the Raghunath sadhakas to omit some limbs which may be contrary to their sentiments? But it was just told earlier that one should not omit the limbs of bhakti. One should do the limbs of bhakti. If one omits, then it will be fault on their part. It was told earlier. So how is it that these kind of sadhakas are omitting the worship of Rukmini and Dwarkadish, all these archana things? How are they doing? So for that, it will be explained by Vishwanath Chakra Thakur. Yeah, please read.
The scriptures also say that on the path of bhakti, there is no fault in omitting some of the procedures such as meditation on Rukmani.
Yeah, so here is a reference from 11th canto. Yan asthaya naro rajan na pramadyeta karhichit dhavan nimilya va netre na skhalet na patet iha.
O King, one who accepts this process of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead will never blunder on his path in this world. Even while running with eyes closed, he will never trip or fall.
Yeah, so he has given proof that Supreme Person of God Krishna himself is telling that a person who has accepted this process means bhakti, he will never blunder on his path. Even while running with closed eyes, he will never trip or fall. Now somebody has closed the eyes, so the question is why did he close the eyes? Did somebody else close his eyes or he was doing it knowingly? So the answer is yes. He was doing it knowingly. Because closing the eyes, others will not do it for us. I have to close my own eyes. That means knowingly he closed his eyes. So now when he is running, he has closed his eyes and then he started running. What is the meaning of running here? Practicing bhakti with full determination. But why did he close his eyes? Closing eyes here means he avoided some of the limbs of bhakti like worshipping Rukmini Dwarkadish, which are mentioned in the Archana Paddhati, but it involves awe and reverence worship. So he closed eyes, he neglected those limbs. But he is continuously running, means he is doing other limbs which are favorable for him. Then Lord is saying for him, he will not trip or fall. Okay, he will not fall from the path of bhakti. That is the meaning of this verse. Okay, there is another proof. We will not see this. Yeah, please read.
A devotee who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, who is constantly engaged in devotional service, should not manifest himself even though he has attained perfection. The idea is that he should always continue to act as a neophyte devotee as long as his material body is there. Activities in devotional service and the regulative principles must be followed even by the pure devotee.
Yeah, so these are the comments of Srila Prabhupada. So please see this. This is what Srila Prabhupada is saying in 16th chapter of comments on all these verses. Okay, whatever we discussed. So one who is actually advanced means what? Whom he is telling about in the 16th chapter? He is telling about the person who is doing Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Okay. He has attained that greed. He has removed the anarthas in his heart and he is at the stage of Nishtha. What he will do should not manifest himself even though he has attained perfection, even though he has got to that stage, he should not externally show to others. So please remember, if anybody is coming and externally showing it that I am Raganuga Sadhana, I am doing this all practice, then he is actually not following what Prabhupada has told and he may not be actually doing that practice properly. Okay. So idea is that he should always continue to act as a neophyte devotee, as a Vaidhi sadhaka only, as a new person. Okay. So he should not show him as a very advanced person and activity in devotional service under regulative principle must be followed and he should not do things so differently that everybody thinks he is not following any of the Vaidhi sadhana. What is the meaning of regulative principles here? Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, not the four regulative principles. Yeah. Read.
But when he realizes his actual position in relationship with the Lord, he can, along with the discharging of regulative service, think within himself of serving the Lord under the guidance of a particular associate of the Lord and develop his transcendental sentiments in following that associate. In this connection, we should be careful about the so-called Siddha Pranali.
Yeah. So now what Prabhupada is saying, the same thing, Seva Sadhak group in a verse he is explaining. So he should think within himself. Okay. Means what? He should conceive, not imagine. Okay. He should conceive in his mind of serving the Lord under the guidance of a particular associate. So Krishna Smaran Janam Cha Asya means associate who is in particular rasa which he wants to attain. Okay. of the Lord and develop his transcendental sentiments. Okay, whatever his mood, that mood he wants to attain, so he should practice tat tat katha ratascha. So he should hear the pastimes of that associate with the Lord and then follow him. Okay, we should be careful about the Siddha Pranali mantra, that is external path. Okay, that what we studied earlier. External path should be rejected by if somebody when we go to Radhakund or other places, Jagannath Puri, we will have people seeing us ISKCON devotees. They will call and tell, Arey, you are doing only ABCD. You are only daily talking about body and soul. So come to us, we will give you Siddha Pranali Mantra. We will give you Siddha Deha. Okay, and it has happened in ISKCON. Some devotees went like that. And other day, as some devotees were telling that we will fall down if we practice Raghunav Sadhana Bhakti. So thinking that it is not there in ISKCON, they went outside. And then they three devotees from one of the places, will not say name. So ISKCON temple, three brahmacharis, they went also to Vrindavan in a to a person, and they three asked for some Siddha Deha. So they three were interviewed one by one and they were given also. And after some time when they came to their they were all three one temple only. So when they came back and then they were practicing their Raghunav sadhana, whatever was given. So after some time when they were discussing with each other, they came to know that all three were given the same form. So they understood that they had been cheated. Cheated means they have been bluffed. Means how all three people will attain one personality only. Okay, all three should be given different forms, different names. Correct. So they were given the same name. So basically, if one is not trying to do it genuinely, then he will get cheated anywhere. Inside ISKCON, outside ISKCON. If one is trying to do it genuinely, he can do it inside ISKCON also, outside also, no problem. Okay. So that's what Prabhupada is guarding us against. That this external path is very easy to copy without having anartha nivritti. So with having so much of anarthas in heart, anybody can tell you, yeah, this is your Swarupa. Okay, that is not wrong. That is possible because that guru, if he is advanced at the stage of prema, he is there. He can see in his spiritual world that which form you are going to attain, and he can give that. But it has been misused so much that Srila Prabhupada is banning it. Okay, please read.
The Siddhi Pranali process is followed by a class of men who are not very authorized and who have manufactured their own way of devotional service. They imagine that they have become associates of the Lord simply by thinking of themselves like that.
Okay. Yeah. So as we told, yeah, Siddha Pranali process is a external path by a pantha. So it's followed by a class of men who are not very authorized because that's how it happened gradually, who have manufactured their own way of devotional service. Okay, and then Sahajiya is they started with them. So they imagine that they have become associates of Lord simply by thinking of themselves like that. And then they start dressing and doing all things.
This external behavior is not at all according to the regulative principles. The so-called Siddha Pranali process is followed by Prakrit Sahajiya, a pseudo sect of so-called Vaishnavas. In the opinion of Rupa Goswami, such activities are simply disturbances to the standard way of devotional service.
Yeah, so this we have discussed how these people are deviating and trying to do in their external sadhaka body. They are doing activities of Siddha Deha, of Lalita, Vishakha, Rupa Manjari, all those things they are doing. So that's why Prabhupada is criticizing them. Yeah.
Sri Rupa Goswami says that learned acharyas recommended that we follow the regulative principles even after the development of spontaneous love for Krishna. According to the regulative principles, there are 9 departmental activities as described above, and one should specifically engage himself in the type of devotional service for which he has a natural aptitude.
Yeah. So according to Vaidhi Sadhana, there are 9 departmental activities, and for a Raghavana sadhaka, he can choose what is his naturally inclined. Okay, and even Vaidhi sadhaka also can choose, not a issue. Okay, but as we discussed the example, that as one goes higher and higher, he can become more and more narrow in studying. Okay, in science, then in science also in physics also in one subject, and then he can become more and more narrow. Yeah.
For example, one person may have a particular interest in hearing, another may have a particular interest in chanting, and another may have a particular interest in serving in the temple. So, this or any of the other six different types of devotional services, remembering, serving, praying, engaging in some particular service, being in a friendly relationship, or offering everything in one's possession, should be executed in full earnestness in this way.
Your voice is not coming through.
Uh, I spoke, Ruji, was
Ah,
it same for others? Because
okay. Yeah, now it's
yeah,
coming. Yeah. 16th. How to decide which practices to follow and which to reject. Okay. So here, as it was told that some practices should be rejected, which are filled with awe and reverence. Okay. So how does one get to know that which one should be accepted, which one should be rejected? So for this to understand, we have to divide the limbs of bhakti in five categories. So we have studied the 64 limbs, right? So the 64 limbs can be divided into these five categories. So what are the categories? Now we can read. Okay. Somebody else can read. Kishore Madhav, you want to read?
Yes, ma'am. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur divided the activities of bhakti into five categories according to how they affect the spontaneous mood or bhava. First, bhava maya, things composed of one's bhava. Second, bhava sambandhi, those related to one's bhava. Third, bhava anukula, things favorable to one's bhava. Fourth, bhava aviruddha, those are not incompatible with one's bhava. Fifth, bhava pratikula, things opposed to one's bhava.
Yeah. So these are very, very important in any activity of our life. We can do this five categorization also. Okay. So it's not only in the spiritual, but in any other realm also this can be applied. But mainly here spiritual is explained that some things may be very much composed of one's bhav. Okay, means as a Raghunav sadhaka, he may want to attain a particular rasa. So, which out of 64 limbs, which are they, which are directly contributing? Okay, some are contributing, which are indirect, indirectly contributing to his attainment of suppose Madhurya, Sakhya rasa or whatever. And some things are there, which are very, very indirectly contributing. Some things are there which are not contributing, but they are not against, neutral. Some are which are not contributing, but at the same time they are opposed also. They are against. So that one should avoid. All others are okay. Okay, that's how five categorization is done. Okay, where it is done, this is Vishnu Chadakur is doing in Ragvartam Chandrika, one book he has written. Okay, what is the first one? Bhavamaya, things composed of one's bhav. Please read.
This refers to the four primary milos, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Those qualified for Raganuga sadhana are drawn to one of these service moods, and every activity they perform is saturated with the flavor of the atrasa.
Yeah, so we may not see externally any difference in the Raganuga sadhaka. They may look like a Vaidhi sadhaka only, but internally their moods are different. While they are chanting, while they are doing any service or they are doing DT worship, DT services, their moods are following after their particular goal, which may be in any of the rasa. They have chosen a particular personality whom they want to follow, and externally it looks the same as any other Vaidhi sadhaka. They are chanting same mantra. Vaidhi sadhaka also chanting same mantra. But while chanting, what they are meditating is different. Yeah, please read.
Bhava Sambandhi, those related to one's bhava. This refers to the five most potent limbs of devotion, along with other important limbs such as surrendering to the Guru and serving him. First, attachment to serving the lotus feet of deity. Second, releasing Bhagavatam. 3. Association with like-minded affectionate devotees. 4. Chanting the name of Lord. 5. Residing in Mathura. These practices are indispensable because they help form and mature a devotee's spiritual disposition.
Yeah, so now five most potent limbs which are there. Okay, so what are they? Nam Sankirtan, Bhagavad Shravan, Sadhu Sangha. Okay, and Mathuravas, Shri Murtera, Shraddhaya Sevan. All these things are Bhava Sambandhi, related to one's Bhava. Okay, so they are indispensable. Matlab they should never be rejected. Okay, these practices are indispensable. They have to be done. Apart from these five, what are the other? Adav Guru Padashraya, accepting a Guru. accepting teachings from him, serving the guru's instructions. So if somebody is not doing all these things, then he is not doing properly Vaidhi sadhana also. Yeah, continue.
Uh, Bhav Anukula, third one. Things favorable to one's bhava. These are related practices not indispensable but favorable to bhava. One should accept these practices because they are complementary. For example, one should observe Ekadashi, celebrate Janmashtami, follow Kartik Vrata, renounce sense pleasure to give Krishna satisfaction, and worship Tulsi Devi and the banyan tree.
Yeah, so these are not indispensable, means they can be said as optional. Okay, in the sense that for giving nourishment to Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, they are not optional as externals. Not optional in the case of, in the sense of externally Raganuga Sadhana, how he is manifesting. See, there is difference. Please understand this. Optional is not that one should not, one can take Ekadashi or celebration of Janmashtami as optional. It's not said in that way. What they are saying is this may be optional in the sense that it may not nourish their Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Externally, they have to do only. But whether that will nourish or not, that will be optional based on different devotees. Okay, that is the meaning. Yeah, read this.
Fourth, Bhava Aviruddha, those not incompatible with one's bhava. These are practices neither incompatible with nor favorable to cultivating bhava. These practices are optional and or neutral. Example in this category are wearing the deity's flower garland and stamping the body with Lord's names.
Yeah, so basically, if you see this third, okay, this second one which is there, these are first three, four limbs, one, two, four, and last five, where they are what 60 to 64. These limbs are coming in Bhav Sambandhi, those related to one's Bhav. That can never be rejected. Bhav Anukul, what are they? They are all the limbs which are going to come in the 5 to 20 limbs. If you remember, first 20 were doors of bhakti, which should never be avoided. And this is like 21 to 59. Okay, these limbs of bhakti, which are optional. Examples are given. Okay, Nirmalya Grahanam. Okay, Namadhritihi, accepting the Lord's name on the body, etc. And yeah, fifth one.
Fifth one, Bhava Pratikula, things opposed to one's bhava. Finally, opposed to the spontaneous devotion of Vrindavan are practices such as meditating on the service of Krishna's queens in Dwarka or affixing the mantras, worshipping various deities to one's body, Nyasa. Devotees cultivating bhava should avoid such practices.
Yeah, so those who are practicing or trying to emulate behind the Vrajavasis, Raganuga Sadhakas, they should avoid these kind of angas of bhakti because that will generate awe and reverence towards the form of Krishna. 17th. But remember that you are a part of world organization. So when we are avoiding such external activities mentioned here, it may be for a personal reason. But when one is acting in the position of a leader, then he cannot avoid such things. He should set the example. Okay, that's what Maharaj is going to say now. Otherwise, there will be a misunderstanding in the community that why certain very respected person on a certain position is not doing certain activities. Okay, so we'll read this. Yeah.
Before deciding which regulative practices to continue and which to drop, however, ISKCON devotees must first consider the example of such behavior will set for newcomers. Since new devotees are always joining the society, it is important that senior devotees encourage them by setting a proper example. If leading devotees neglect practices required of novices, double standards in the society will result in confusion. Lord Chaitanya's mercy is the most indispensable item for spontaneous practice, and that mercy showers down on those who selflessly serve his mission. Aspirants for Raganuga Bhakti must carefully consider that what is favorable for ISKCON and cultivate the spontaneous mood accordingly.
Yeah. So one should not be just thinking about oneself, but one should think about the institute. So even though one may want to avoid something, it may be in a personal space, but it may not be in the in the official space where ISKCON is there are other new people seeing or you are in a post and position or leading some people. Okay. Yeah, and the last topic of this 18th, Raganuga Sadhaka's relationship with the Guru. So one may think, oh, does he directly associate with Rup Goswami now and Rup Manjari? or does he have any relationship with Guru? What it is, that will be cleared. Okay, somebody else can read. Prem Latika Mati, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. I am audible, Prabhu?
Yeah, yeah.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds submission to the spiritual master, Vishrambhena Guru Seva, to the list of indispensable items of devotion. In other words, as disciples advance on the path of spontaneous devotion, they never minimize or reject their preceptor's instructions.
Yeah. So as we discussed, that Guru Sadhu Shastra one should follow in any stage of life, whether one is doing Vaidhi sadhana or Raganuga sadhana. So one has to follow the Guru and their representatives' instructions. If somebody is not doing it, then they are not properly following any sadhana.
In addition to seeing their gurus as servants of Lord Chaitanya's mission, they begin to see them as servants of Radha and Krishna, as expressed in the fifth and sixth verses of Sri Guru Ashtakam.
Yeah. So those who are Vaidhi sadhakas, they see their gurus as servants of Lord Chaitanya. Okay, in his mission. Now, those were Raganuga sadhakas. In addition to this, they also see them as servants of Radha Krishna. That is the addition for Raganuga sadhaka. So we have these two famous stanzas. Shri Radhika Madhavayo Apara Madhurya Lila Gunarup Namna Pratikshana Aswadana Lolupasya Vande Guroh Shri Charana Aravindam. Yeah, please read.
The spiritual master aspires to relish at every moment Pratikshana Aswadana Lolupasya, the unlimited, apparent, conjugal pastimes Madhurya Leela of Radhika and Madhava, Sri Radhika Madhaviyo, and their qualities, names, and forms, Gunarupa Namna. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master, Vande Guru Sri Charanaраvinda.
Yeah, so those who are Raganuga sadhana bhaktas, they will be able to see this part more uh, properly. This aspect of their guru, that he is also a associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission as well as Shri Radha and Krishna, their pastimes also. Okay. And what kind of servant he is, that is explained in the next verse. Nikunjayu no rati keli siddhye yayali bhir yuktirapekshaniya tatrati dakshad ati vallabhasya vande guroh Shri Charanaravindam. Yeah, please read.
The spiritual master is very dear, Ativallabhasya, because he is expert in assisting the gopis, Patradi Daksha, who at the different times make different tasteful arrangements. Yayali Viryuktir Apekshaniya, for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs, Ratikeli Siddhai, within the groves of Vrindavan, Nikunja Yona. I offer my most humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
Yeah,
Vande
so
Guru Sri Charan.
yeah, thank you. So these devotees who are Raguna sadhakas, they are able to see this part very clearly in their gurus, that they are very expert in assisting the gopis. Yeah. So here we have completed this part of the practices of Raguna sadhana bhakti. Okay, what it consists of and what it is not. So if there are any questions, we will take. Yeah. Any questions? Any discussion points? Okay. So if it is clear, then we will go to next topic. Okay. And this short topic only it is. Next cover few slides. No. So the topic which we have covered till now was the practice of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So what was discussed till now is definition of Raga, definition of Ragatmika Bhakti, that was discussed. Then it had two parts. Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti, and second part was Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. Okay. And now, as we have discussed, the Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti, which is there, one who follows this. Okay, just like follower of Ragatmika is called Raganuga. So follower of this type of bhakti is called Kamanuga Bhakti. The person who follows behind this bhakti, he does Kamanuga Bhakti. That is the definition. Okay. So what is Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti? Which follows behind Ragatmika. Sadhana Bhakti. Ragatmika Bhakti. Okay, that is perfected Bhakti. So similarly, if we have to define Kamanuga Bhakti, we have to define it as a follower of Kam Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. So similarly, when the next term will come Sambandhanuga Bhakti, what is the meaning? They are follower of Sambandha Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. Okay, so they are basically following behind the Madhuri Ras devotees. Okay, Kama Rupa is Madhuri Ras devotee because conjugal dealings are only in Madhuri Ras, not in any other rasa. Yeah, so definition of this is given here. Kamanuga bhavet trishna, kama rupanugamini, sambhogichhamai tattat bhavichhatmiti sadvidha. Yes, Madhuri, please read.
The Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, which is filled with longing, that is Trishna, and which follows after the Kamarupa Ragatmika Bhakti of the Siddha Bhaktas, Kamarupa Anugamini, is called Kamanuga Bhakti, Kamanuga Bhave. There are two types, Sadvidha, Sambhogechamayi and Tattad
Ichhatma.
Bhavichatma. Bhav Ichatma. Sambhog Ichamai Tattat Bhavichatma Iti.
Yeah, so first two lines are defining what is Kamanuga Bhakti. Bhavet Trishna Kama Rupa Anugamini. They are Anugamini, they are following. Okay, this type of bhakti is following something. What it is following? Kam Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti it is following. Okay, so Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, it is also a practice which is filled with longing, Trishna, and which follows after Kamrupa Ragatmika. That's it. So it is follower of Kamrupa Ragatmika. Is called Kamanuga Bhakti. It has two types. First, Sambhog Ichamai. Second, Tat Tat Bhav Ichatma. Okay, this is the second type. What are the meanings? We will see here. Okay, please read.
The bhakti which is filled with activities that follow in the footsteps of the gopis' actions, which are inspired by prominent karma or conjugal prema within them, and which is inspired by a similar and prominent love thirst in the sadhaka, is called as Kamanuga Bhakti. There are two types of activity: those in the mind, consisting of thoughts, and services, consisting of actions of the external senses.
Yeah, so very specifically, they are followers of the footsteps of the gopis. Okay, that is not of Sakha or the elder gopis like Mother Yashoda. Okay, footsteps of the gopis. Okay, like Lalita, Vishakha, and others. And there are two types of activity, very important. What are they? Consisting of those in the mind, which is and the level of mind. They are consisting of thoughts. And second is the physical services in the external senses. So mind is what? Siddha Deha. Okay, Siddha Deha activities are there within the mind. And physical services are the Sadhaka Deha. Sadhaka Deha activities. Yeah. So what are the elements of this Kamanuga Bhakti? So first is following after versus imitation. So we have to follow after or not imitate. Yeah, please read.
One should not say as follows: if it is prescribed that the sadhaka must perform activities following after the activities of the young gopis, then why do the pure devotees not perform worship of the sun? which is undertaken by the gopis. If the devotee performs such actions, will it harm the purity of their bhakti?
Yeah, so there is an argument given. Okay, gopis do not perform some Ekadashi Vrata and others, and as well they worship sun. So, is there any harm if we also start doing it as a sadhaka?
The sadhakas also perform actions such as worship and the Ekadashi vows, which were performed by Rupa Goswami and the other devotees, but the gopis did not perform these.
Yeah, so they are giving argument. See, the gopis did not do all this Ekadashi Vrata, okay, and worship of sun. Gopis did that, okay. So the sadhakas also perform actions such as worship and Ekadashi. Sadhaka should do uh, Ekadashi vows, which were performed by Rupa Goswami and other great devotees, following in their sadhaka example. Okay, yeah, read.
The word Anubhavini means following after, not imitating. One should follow after them in the sense of accepting the gopis' sentiments. It does not mean one should do everything they do.
Yeah, so one should follow in their sentiments. Okay, just like we have letter of the law and spirit of the law. So letter of the law is like doing exactly the word by word that law is saying. And spirit of the law is what that law actually is trying in spirit to say. So that we have to follow, not the letter of the law. Just like when we have the DT rooms, on the door it is written no entry. So if it was supposed to be no entry strictly, then there can be a wall itself, right? Why to make a door? No entry means nobody should enter, na? They make a wall only. No, we have to follow the spirit of the law. The spirit of no entry law is only authorized people should enter. That will not be written there. That is understood. The sentiment is understood. Okay, no entry. The pujari should not say no. No, it is saying no entry. How can I enter? If you don't enter, then who will worship? Okay, so you have to enter. It's for outsiders. Same way, one has to follow the sentiments of the gopis. Okay, they are not worshipping. They are not doing Ekadashi. They are worshipping Katyayani Devi and demigods. Why? Because they don't understand Krishna also is God. They think whoever can provide me Krishna, I will worship them. Not Narayan comes in front, then he will say, they will say, yeah, Narayana, so please accept our humble obeisances. Please tell us where is Krishna. Okay, they have completely immersed themselves. We cannot imitate them. They are at very high level. Okay, yeah, please read.
Similarly, taking support of the Vedanta, if one gives explanation with logic, with one's additional input, it is called following the Vedanta.
Yeah, so anybody he writes a new book or anything, if it is based on logic of the scriptures, not his own intellectual logic, he is saying, okay, tarka sangati of the scriptures, and with one's additional input, whatever his realizations are there, he can put. Okay, that's called as following the Vedanta. Okay, that is not a problem. Okay, so we will stop here and we'll continue tomorrow from this the two types of Kamanuga Bhakti. So there are two types in this. What are they? We will see tomorrow. Okay. Hare Krishna. So tomorrow we will meet and continue this topic. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai, Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.